There are connections that transcend logic, encounters that seem written between the lines of destiny. When someone enters our life with a force that defies reason, the inevitable question arises: could they be the one chosen by the universe? Amid doubts and expectations, subtle signs begin to surface. They do not shout but whisper with the silent wisdom of the unconscious, revealing truths that only those brave enough to look within can understand. In this video, we will explore 3 revealing clues, deeply rooted in Carl Jung's analytical psychology, that may indicate whether this person is indeed the one the universe has aligned with your path of individuation. Prepare to see beyond the surface and recognize the marks destiny leaves for those who know how to interpret its symbolic language. If you believe the universe speaks to us through signs, comment below. I am ready to recognize what is true. Within Carl Gustav Jung's analytical psychology, human relationships are not mere social interactions, but meetings between internal worlds. When we connect deeply with someone, we're not just dealing with the other person, but with a reflection of hidden parts of ourselves. In this context, concepts like projection, shadow, and individuation come to the fore. The idea that someone might be chosen by the universe echoes the journey of individuation, the process of becoming who we truly are in essence. Jung held that this journey is marked by synchronistic events, meaningful occurrences with no causal link, yet carrying profound significance for those who experience them. Finding someone who awakens in us a sense of completeness, challenge, and transformation can be one such synchronistic event. Often we project our animus, the internalized masculine figure in a woman's unconscious, onto another person. This projection can lead us to see the other as the ideal answer to our deepest longings. But only when that image begins to dissolve, revealing who the other truly is, can we perceive whether there really is an authentic connection. True union does not occur in idealization, but in the mutual acceptance of the shadows and lights each carries. The clues that reveal whether someone is part of our symbolic destiny do not come from the logical mind, but from the unconscious, which expresses itself through intuitions, dreams, bodily sensations, and meaningful repetitions. When these manifestations align with our process of self-knowledge, we can recognize that this person did not appear by chance. They play an essential role in our psychic journey. When 2 people meet seemingly at random, yet the events surrounding that meeting carry a meaning that transcends logic, we are witnessing what Jung called synchrony. It is not an ordinary coincidence, but a significant convergence of external happenings and internal states. When this occurs in an intimate relationship, it can be the first sign that something deeper is at play, a connection emerging from the collective unconscious, as if the universe truly were conspiring for that union. Synchrony manifests subtly, thinking of someone and then receiving their call, crossing paths in different places without planning, discovering that you share symbols, dreams, or stories that interweave like pieces of a psychic puzzle. These events require no linear logic, but carry a powerful personal meaning, as if pointing to a bond that existed even before the meeting took place. According to Jung, these signs grow more frequent when we are aligned with our individuation process, the journey of integrating our internal opposites. Encountering someone who seems chosen by the universe often coincides precisely with decisive moments in that journey. It's as though the universe responds to our inner readiness with an external revelation. And when that revelation is truly significant, it arrives not only with pleasure or desire, but also with a sense of emotional depth, symbolic resonance, and inner growth. Often, the first contact with this person occurs during a period of transition, the end of one cycle, the start of a quest, personal crisis. This timing is not accidental. It prepares the ground for the relationship to have a transformative impact. Frequently, such an encounter prompts the individual to reevaluate their life, their beliefs, their fears, and the way they relate to themselves. In this sense, synchrony acts as a mirror, reflecting what is about to emerge from the soul. However, it is crucial not to confuse synchrony with attachment to fantasy. The conditioned mind seeks signs to justify desire. Authentic signs are not forced. They occur when we are genuinely open to the unknown. They do not confirm egoic expectations, but awaken deeper layers of the soul. When someone enters your life and everything around you starts to make more sense, when seemingly random events reveal a larger symbolic pattern, that encounter may have been orchestrated behind the scenes of the unconscious. Here, intuition becomes a fundamental compass. The body feels it, the soul recognizes it, Time seems to stand still. There is a silent clarity, knowledge that needs no explanation, only to be lived. This perception does not arise from anxiety or romanticism, but from a state of inner presence. When synchrony manifests clearly and frequently around a person, it's as if the universe says, "Pay attention. Here is something that transcends the ordinary." To recognize synchrony is to acknowledge that we are in constant dialogue with something greater. It is to understand that our choices, our paths, and our encounters are not isolated. They belong to an archetypal narrative. The one who appears chosen may in fact play an essential role in your journey of self-discovery. And even if the relationship is not eternal, it can be eternal in what it awakens within you. Therefore, the true sign does not lie in the other's permanence, but in how much they reveal about your own soul. When synchrony enters the picture and reorganizes the meaning of your journey, it is time to listen, because in that moment, the universe is whispering truths that only an awakened heart can hear. In Jung's analytical psychology, the unconscious is not merely a reservoir of repressed experiences, but a symbolic territory inhabited by archetypal images. Among these, one of the most significant for the feminine psyche is the animus, the personification of the masculine principle within. When a woman feels a deep, intense, and inexplicable attraction to someone, she is likely projecting her animus onto that person. It is this projection that often gives rise to the feeling that he was sent by the universe. The animus is not a real man, but a psychic construction composed of ideas, feelings, ideals, and images of the masculine interiorized over a lifetime through the figure of the father, brothers, encounters with men, culture, religion, and dreams. He represents the bridge between a woman's conscious mind and her deep unconscious, functioning as an internal guide toward wholeness. When projected onto an external other, the animus can transform that person into a chosen one, a mirror of what has yet to be fully recognized within. This projection often carries a magical aura. The man is seen as the ideal, the savior, the missing complement. Everything he does or says takes on symbolic weight. His gestures, words, even silences are interpreted as messages of destiny. This happens because what is at stake is not just the relationship with the other, but the awakening of deep contents of the soul. The danger, however, lies in taking projection for reality. The real man, with his flaws, desires, and contradictions, does not live up to the projected archetype. Sooner or later, that dissonance emerges. At that moment, many women feel betrayed, disappointed, or disoriented. The magic seems to vanish, and what remains is reality. Yet it is precisely then that the true meeting can begin. When projection dissolves, the animus ceases to be a fantasy and becomes an integrated inner force. The man stops being the chosen one in an illusory sense and is seen as a human being with whom a more authentic connection can be established. Paradoxically, it is in this unveiling of reality that the deepest mystery is revealed. Recognizing animus projection is an essential step in the individuation journey. When a woman begins to dialogue with this inner force, she develops psychic autonomy, emotional clarity, and a finer ability to perceive the other as they truly are, rather than as she would like them to be. This does not negate the other's role in the journey, but shifts the focus from idealization to integration. The chosen one is no longer the one who fills a void, but the one who mirrors, activates, and propels the expansion of the self. At the same time, an integrated animus becomes an internal ally. It provides structure, logic, courage, action, and expressiveness, qualities traditionally attributed to the masculine. A woman who recognizes and works on her relationship with the animus becomes more centered, more present, and better able to discern whether the person before her truly resonates with her soul's process, not because he is ideal, but because he awakens her most authentic self. And it is precisely here that one might say, perhaps he was not only chosen by the universe, perhaps he was drawn by the strength of a soul that had begun to recognize its own wholeness. Every significant relationship carries within it a challenging element, a tension that goes beyond initial attraction or enchantment. When we feel strongly connected to someone, it is not uncommon for contradictory feelings to surface over time: anger, frustration, fear, jealousy, resentment. According to Jung, every deep relationship is also a meeting of shadows. How we react to what the other awakens in us reveals how revelatory and transformative that bond truly is. The shadow encompasses everything we deny, repress, or fail to recognize in ourselves. It contains aspects we judge unacceptable, shameful, or undesirable, yet these continue to live in the unconscious, influencing our choices and emotions. When we encounter someone with a magnetic effect on us, that person often carries or activates precisely those aspects of our own shadow. The impact of this mirroring can be intense, destabilizing, and profoundly revealing. In the context of a relationship that seems orchestrated by the universe, the presence of a shared shadow is a powerful indicator. Such a bond is not merely smooth, harmonious, or idealized. It pushes us into unknown internal territories, forces us to confront our contradictions, and compels us to face truths we would rather avoid. In other words, it acts as a catalyst for transformation. By showing us what we avoid seeing, the other plays a sacred role in our individuation process. Often this mirroring occurs through seemingly trivial conflicts, recurring arguments, behaviors that irritate us, or actions that hurt us are not simply problems with the other. They are reflections of parts of ourselves that need integration. If we feel the other is overly controlling, perhaps we are repressing our own desire for control. If his coldness bothers us, maybe we are disconnected from our own rationality. The other becomes a mirror, and the reflection we see is not always comfortable to face. Yet in that discomfort lies opportunity. Once acknowledged, the shadow ceases to be an invisible enemy and becomes an ally in growth. The partner who reveals our shadow is not necessarily a mistake or a threat. On the contrary, they may be the right figure at the right moment to lift us to a new level of consciousness. It is as if the universe, in choosing that person, were offering us a chance for healing and expansion. Of course, this dynamic demands maturity. Not every discomfort means the relationship should continue. The difference lies in discerning when mirroring leads to mutual transformation and when it merely perpetuates destructive patterns. A relationship destined to expand consciousness involves confrontation, but also acceptance, listening, and presence. When both are willing to face their shadows, the bond becomes fertile ground for individuation. When only one projects and the other reacts defensively, the cycle turns vicious. The shared shadow need not be feared, but understood. It is inevitable in any true relationship, and often it is through the shadow that the soul recognizes that encounter was not random. Something more resides there, something beyond appearance, physical attraction, or superficial compatibility. It is a summons to self-knowledge, and it is this call that transforms an ordinary relationship into a portal to authenticity. Therefore, when someone awakens in you deep, contradictory emotions, do not flee complexity. Investigate. What does this person reveal about you? Which parts of yourself have been activated? What is surfacing that you did not want to see? These questions can be painful, but also liberating. They pave the way for a new form of love, one not based on idealization, but on acceptance of the totality of being. In this light, perhaps the other is not merely someone who came to complete you. Maybe they were chosen by the universe to deconstruct you, thus clearing the path for you to finally become who you are. From Jung's perspective, the highest aim of human existence is not immediate happiness or fitting social molds, but rather the realization of individuation, the ongoing journey of integrating all parts of the psyche, conscious and unconscious, toward wholeness. Along this path, relationships are not distractions or mere sentimental episodes, but genuine catalysts for psychic transformation. When a connection emerges with symbolic force and emotional intensity, it can be exactly the impulse the soul needs to take an evolutionary leap. Meeting someone who seems chosen by the universe often coincides with an internal turning point. This person, far from being only a romantic partner, embodies challenges, awakens dormant potentials, and exposes hidden vulnerabilities. Instead of filling voids, they reveal them. Instead of comforting, they often unsettle. Yet that unease serves a purpose. It compels us to look inward, to question, to excavate layers of identity dormant beneath the automatism of daily life. By definition, individuation demands a confrontation with opposites. There is no more fertile ground for that confrontation than the intimate bond with another. The relationship becomes a dynamic mirror in which each act, each conflict, and each gesture of affection activates internal forces that must be recognized, understood, and transformed. Thus, to truly love someone is also to love oneself more deeply, because real love forces us to become more conscious of who we are. Many believe that finding the right person is the end of a quest, but symbolically, it is the beginning of another. The other becomes the soul's testing ground. It is there that we put into practice everything we intellectually know about ourselves. It is there we discover whether we can truly be vulnerable, whether we have the courage to love without control, whether we can accept the other without erasing our own individuality. And it is in that tension between union and separation, between desire and fear, that the soul finds room to grow. A consciously lived relationship turns into an alchemical laboratory. Jung saw alchemy as a potent metaphor for psychic processes, especially in relationships. Intimate coexistence generates enough emotional heat to melt the ego's rigid structures. In that heat, separated elements of the psyche, such as masculine and feminine, rational and instinctual, sacred and mundane, begin to fuse. The partner thus acts as a transformative agent, not because they change us directly, but because their presence forces us to confront aspects of ourselves that were dormant. An archetypal relationship, one that seems orchestrated by greater forces, is defined not just by compatibility, but by the depth of mutual impact. Sometimes that impact is so great that the relationship cannot last long, so heavy is its symbolic charge. Yet even brief relationships, when lived in depth, can leave an indelible mark on a soul. In the end, what matters is not the duration, but the degree of transformation. When someone enters your life and initiates a true internal restructuring, even without uttering a word, they are fulfilling a fundamental role in your individuation. They may not know it, you may not understand it at the time, but something operates at a deeper level. The transformation that unfolds is not merely psychological but spiritual. It is as though that person were sent to activate in you what could only emerge in the warmth of a genuine bond. Therefore, more than seeking perfect love, it is essential to ask, is this relationship making me more conscious? Is it helping me integrate parts of myself that were forgotten? Is it revealing who I am beyond masks? If the answer is yes, then perhaps this person truly did not appear by chance. Maybe they were summoned by the unconscious, chosen by the universe to mirror your transformation. And even if one day your paths diverge, the imprint of that relationship will remain. For it was built not only on the surface of events, but in the soul's symbolic depths. It moved you, it broke you down, it remade you, and thus it fulfilled its noblest mission, to awaken in you the memory of who you are, whole, complex, human, and ever-evolving. Some people enter our lives as enigmas. They not only attract us but move us, awaken us, and reorganize us from within. They do not arrive by chance. They carry the potency of a symbolic call, a message from the unconscious that, when heeded, guides us toward our true selves. If you have ever felt that an encounter was inevitable, as if sketched by something greater, know that the universe and the psyche speak exactly this language, that of synchrony, projection, shadow, and individuation. Recognizing these clues is not mysticism, but psychological depth. When you understand what lies behind the signs, you begin to see clearly what was once confusing. And that clarity transforms everything, the way you relate, love, and see yourself. If this content has touched you, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Here, every video is an invitation to dive deeper into your own inner universe. And if you wish to continue this journey of self-discovery, watch now the video on the screen. Your transformation begins with the gaze you cast upon yourself.